The processing center smelled like metal and fear. Day-Wan sat on the cold floor with his hands bound behind his back. Blood dried on his temple where a Krethian soldier had struck him during the colony raid. Around him, dozens of other humans waited in silent terror. Commander Vexthor walked through the rows of prisoners. His massive frame towered over the humans. His scales gleamed under the harsh lights, green and black patterns that marked him as high-ranking military. Each step of his clawed feet echoed through the warehouse that had once stored mining equipment. Now it stored people. "Look at them," Vexthor said to his second officer. His voice was deep and rough, amplified through his helmet speakers. "These are the creatures that dare to settle near our borders? These soft pink things?" The officer, a younger Krethian named Torvan, laughed. "They fell in less than an hour, Commander. Their defenses were pathetic." Vexthor stopped in front of an elderly human man who was shaking. "They need water constantly. They cannot survive in proper cold or heat. Their bones break so easily." He turned to address his soldiers who lined the walls. "The Empire worried about these mammals? They are nothing." The Krethian troops cheered and banged their weapons against their armor. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Day-Wan kept his head down. His shoulders slumped forward. He looked like every other defeated colonist. His work clothes were torn and dirty. His hands showed calluses from mining work. Nothing about him suggested anything special. Vexthor continued his walk. "We will send them to the work camps. They will serve the Empire until they break, which will be soon, I think." More laughter from the soldiers. He stopped directly in front of Day-Wan. "This one looks particularly weak." Vexthor bent down, his massive head coming close. "Are you going to cry, little human? Are you going to beg?" Day-Wan said nothing. He kept staring at the floor. "He cannot even speak," Vexthor announced. "Fear has stolen his voice." He grabbed Day-Wan by the collar and lifted him off the ground with one hand. Day-Wan's feet dangled in the air. "Perhaps we need entertainment. The troops are bored. Torvan, prepare the assessment arena." "The combat arena, Commander?" Torvan sounded surprised. "For this one?" "Yes. Let us see how long this creature survives. It will be amusing." Vexthor dropped Day-Wan back to the floor. Day-Wan landed hard and didn't resist as soldiers grabbed his arms. They dragged him toward a large door at the far end of the warehouse. The other prisoners watched with wide eyes. Some were crying. Others turned away, unable to watch what they assumed would be an execution. As the soldiers pulled Day-Wan past a group of women prisoners, one of them suddenly lurched forward. "Wait!" she shouted. Her name was Hai-Wan. She had short black hair and a scar on her cheek. "You don't know what you're doing!" A Krethian guard shoved her back. "Silence!" "You've made a mistake," Hai-Wan insisted, struggling against her bonds. "That's not just a miner. That's—" The guard hit her with the butt of his weapon. She fell silent, blood on her lip, but her eyes stayed locked on Day-Wan. He met her gaze for just a moment. Something passed between them, a small nod from him, a warning in her eyes. The arena was a circular room with high walls. The floor was covered in sand and marked with old stains. This was where the Krethians tested their own warriors and sometimes forced captured enemy soldiers to fight for their amusement. Viewing platforms ringed the upper level where troops could watch. Vexthor climbed to his command position. Below, soldiers threw Day-Wan into the center of the arena and cut his bonds. He stumbled and fell to his knees. The watching Krethians hooted and jeered. "Place weapons around the arena," Vexthor ordered. "Let us be fair. Give the creature a chance." Soldiers tossed several metal pipes and a dull blade onto the sand. Day-Wan slowly got to his feet. He rubbed his wrists where the ropes had been. He still looked weak and frightened, swaying slightly as if dizzy. "Now," Vexthor announced over the speaker system, "let us see what humans are made of. Rakthos, you have the honor." A door opened on the opposite side of the arena. A young Krethian warrior entered, already wearing combat armor. Rakthos was smaller than Vexthor, but still nearly 8 feet tall. He carried a training staff and his claws extended from his fingers. The troops cheered as Rakthos entered. He raised his staff and roared. The sound echoed off the walls. Daywan stood motionless in the center. His arms hung at his sides. He looked at the weapons scattered around him but made no move toward them. He just watched Rakthos approach with slow, measured steps. "He's already given up," someone in the crowd shouted. "Kill it quickly, Rakthos! Don't waste time!" Rakthos began to circle. "Fight, human! Make it interesting!" Daywan finally moved, but not toward a weapon. Instead, he straightened his posture. His shoulders came back. His breathing changed, becoming slower and deeper. His eyes, which had seemed glazed and unfocused, suddenly sharpened. In the command platform, Vexthor leaned forward slightly. Something in the human's stance had changed. Below in the arena, Daywan raised his hands, not in surrender, in a fighting stance. His feet shifted in the sand, finding balance and proper spacing. His weight centered, his expression became neutral and calm. Rakthos charged with a roar, swinging his staff. The real fight was about to begin. Rakthos swung his staff with full force. The blow should have crushed the human's skull. Instead, it hit nothing but air. Daywan had moved. Not a panicked scramble, but a precise sidestep. The staff whistled past his head, missing by inches. Before Rakthos could recover, Daywan stepped inside his reach. The human's elbow drove upward into the joint where Rakthos's arm met his torso. Even through armor, the impact made the Krethian grunt. Daywan followed with a palm strike to the chest plate, not trying to break it, but to push Rakthos off balance. The Krethian warrior stumbled backward, surprised. The crowd's cheering faltered. "What?" Rakthos started to say. Daywan didn't wait. He moved forward, staying close where the staff was useless. His knee came up fast, slamming into Rakthos's midsection where the armor plates separated. Air rushed out of the alien's lungs. While Rakthos gasped, Daywan grabbed the staff and twisted. Rakthos had size and strength advantages. He held on to the weapon. But Daywan used the Krethian's own grip against him, turning the staff into a lever. A quick pivot and pull, and suddenly Rakthos was face down in the sand with his own staff pressing against his neck. Daywan put one knee on the Krethian's back and applied pressure. Not enough to kill. Just enough to make breathing very difficult. "Yield," he said quietly. His voice was calm, not angry, not afraid, just factual. Rakthos tapped the ground 3 times, the universal signal for surrender. Silence filled the arena. The watching Krethians stared in disbelief. Daywan released the pressure and stood up. He stepped away from Rakthos, who rolled over gasping. The human made no move toward any weapons. He simply returned to the center of the arena and waited. Hands loose at his sides. On the command platform, Vexthor's claws dug into the railing. "What just happened?" he demanded. Torvan checked his datapad. "The fight lasted 1 minute and 47 seconds, Commander. Rakthos is uninjured except for his pride." "That was not luck," Vexthor growled. "That was training." He activated the arena speakers. "Impressive, human. But perhaps Rakthos was simply incompetent. Let us test you properly." He turned to his troops. "Dreknor, Silvan, Tokamar, all 3 of you, enter the arena." Murmurs spread through the crowd. 3 against 1 was unusual for a test. It meant Vexthor was taking this seriously now. The 3 Krethian warriors entered through different doors. They spread out, surrounding Daywan. These were experienced soldiers, not fresh trainees. They carried shock batons and moved with coordinated precision. Daywan turned slowly, keeping all 3 in his peripheral vision. His breathing remained steady. He still made no move toward the weapons scattered around the arena. One of the Krethians, Dreknor, laughed nervously. He's just one human. Weak bones, soft skin. Before they could attack, the arena speakers crackled. A human voice came through, female and urgent. "Stop! You need to know who that is." It was Heywan. She had somehow reached the control room's communication panel. Her voice echoed through the arena. "His name is Colonel Daewon Kim. He was the commander of the Terran Defense Coalition's Special Operations Division. He has 17 commendations for combat excellence. He trained elite assault teams for 12 years before retiring." Vexthor roared. "Silence that female!" But Heywan continued, speaking rapidly before they could cut her off. "He retired to our colony 3 years ago because he wanted peace. He wanted to stop being a soldier. You just dragged him back into his old life. That wasn't a miner you threw into your arena. That was one of humanity's best warriors." The feed cut off abruptly. But the words had been spoken. Every Krethian in the viewing area heard them. In the arena, Daewon closed his eyes for just a moment. When he opened them again, something had changed in his expression. Acceptance, perhaps, or resignation. "I came to Valaris 7 to grow plants," he said softly. "I was done with fighting." He looked up at Vexthor. "But if you insist." The 3 Krethians attacked simultaneously. They had trained together and moved as a unit. Shock battens came from 3 angles, leaving no escape route. Daewon dropped low, rolling under Dreknor's swing. As he came up, he grabbed a handful of sand and threw it into Sylvan's face. The alien warrior stumbled backward, clawing at his eyes. Daewon used that moment to grab one of the metal pipes from the ground. Talkamar came from behind. Daewon heard the footsteps in the sand and spun, bringing the pipe up to block the shock baton. The weapons crackled together. Electricity arced, but the rubber grip on the pipe protected Daewon's hands. He pushed forward, driving Talkamar backward. Then he reversed direction suddenly, pulling the pipe down and away. Talkamar, still pushing, lost his balance. Daewon's foot swept the Krethian's legs out from under him. Dreknor charged. Daewon sidestepped and used the pipe to strike precisely at the Krethian's knee joint. Not a wild swing, but a targeted hit to a vulnerable point. Dreknor's leg buckled. As he fell forward, Daewon drove an elbow into the nerve cluster at the base of his neck. The warrior collapsed unconscious. Sylvan had cleared his vision and came at Daewon with his baton raised high. Classic mistake. The overhead attack left his entire torso exposed. Daewon stepped forward into the attack zone where the baton couldn't reach him. He struck with the pipe, ribs, elbow joint, wrist. 3 rapid hits to 3 pressure points. The baton fell from Sylvan's nerveless fingers. Daewon kicked it away and swept Sylvan's feet. The Krethian crashed down hard. Talkamar had regained his footing and attacked again, more cautiously now. He and Daewon circled each other. The human was breathing harder but not exhausted. Talkamar's movements were slower, more hesitant. "You're tired," Daewon observed. "Your species has fast twitch muscle fibers. Great for ambush attacks. Terrible for extended combat." He feinted left. Talkamar reacted, overcommitted. Daewon reversed and struck the baton out of the Krethian's hand. Before Talkamar could recover, Daewon had him in a joint lock that put him face first in the sand. "Yield!" Daewon said again. Talkamar tapped the ground frantically. Daewon released him and stood. 3 Krethian warriors lay defeated. The human had barely broken a sweat. He dropped the pipe and looked up at the command platform. "I told you," he called out. "I came here to grow plants." Vexthor stared down at him. For the first time in his military career, the commander felt something unfamiliar, something cold in his chest. Fear. 12 years earlier, Daewon had stood in a different arena. Not for entertainment, but for survival. The Corvin Wars had been brutal. 3 years of fighting against an insectoid species that showed no mercy. Day-Wan had been 23 years old, fresh from officer training when he first saw real combat. He remembered the fear. The first time he faced a Corvan warrior, he had frozen for 3 full seconds. 3 seconds, that should have killed him. His sergeant, an old woman named Bo-Ra, had saved his life that day. She had taught him the most important lesson. Fear is information. Use it. Don't let it use you. Now, standing in the Krethian arena, Day-Wan felt that same fear, but it was distant, manageable. Just information telling him to stay alert. Vex Thor's voice boomed through the speakers. You hide your true nature. You pretend to be weak colonists. This is deception. This is cowardice. Day-Wan looked up at the command platform. No, this is hope. We hoped you would leave us alone. We hoped we wouldn't have to be soldiers anymore. He gestured to the defeated Krethians being dragged out of the arena. Every human in that processing center has a story like mine. We've all fought. We've all killed. Earth's history is thousands of years of war. We got good at it. Too good. When we reached the stars, we decided to try something different. Lies! Vex Thor slammed his fist on the railing. You are prisoners. You are weak. You call us weak because we need water? Day-Wan walked toward the viewing platform as he spoke. His voice was steady and clear. We evolved chasing prey across grasslands. We ran animals to death. They would sprint away and we would jog after them. For hours, for days. They would run until their hearts exploded. That's what we are. Persistence predators. He picked up a water bottle that one of the defeated Krethians had dropped. He drank slowly, deliberately. You see this as weakness. We see it as fuel. We can keep fighting long after you need to rest. In the viewing area, some of the Krethian soldiers shifted uncomfortably. They had been fighting on and off all day during the colony raid. They were tired. This human had just defeated 4 trained warriors and was barely breathing hard. Day-Wan continued. You say our bones break easily? Yes. Compared to your armored species, we're fragile, but broken bones heal. We've fought entire wars with broken bones. Pain doesn't stop us like it stops you. He touched the dried blood on his temple. This wound? I got it 3 hours ago. My body is already clotting, already healing. By tomorrow, new tissue will be growing. We heal fast because we evolved on a world where injuries were constant. Torvan spoke quietly to Vex Thor. Commander, I've been reviewing human biology. What he says is accurate. Their wound recovery is remarkable for a species without natural armor. Vex Thor growled. Then we will see how well he heals from massive trauma. He activated the speakers. Guards, check the other prisoners. I want to know which ones are military. In the processing center, Krethian soldiers began pulling prisoners to their feet, checking their hands for calluses, looking for tattoos or scars that indicated combat training. What they found disturbed them. A man named Sung Ho, who had seemed like a scared maintenance worker, suddenly disarmed a guard. The movement was too quick, too practiced. The guard's weapon clattered to the floor. Sung Ho didn't pick it up. He simply held the guard's wrist in a lock and waited. A young woman named Yun Ah was pulled up for inspection. When the guard grabbed her arm roughly, she moved on instinct. The guard found himself on the ground with Yun Ah's boot on his chest. She blinked in surprise at her own reaction, then quickly stepped back. Sorry, reflex. The guard scrambled away from her, reporting to his squad leader. This one has military training too. Across the processing center, more discoveries. Nearly half the colonists showed signs of combat experience, old tattoos, specific scars, muscle memory that betrayed their past lives. Hay-1, still under guard near the control room, smiled grimly. Valaris 7 wasn't just a mining colony, she called out. It was a retirement community for soldiers who wanted peace. You invaded a planet full of veterans. Back in the arena, Vex Thor absorbed this information. His confidence was cracking. The simple raid on a weak colony was becoming something else, something dangerous. "It doesn't matter," he announced. "Even if you all have training, you are prisoners. You have no weapons, no ships. You are surrounded by my fleet." Daewon nodded. "You're right. We can't win against your fleet, but that's not the point anymore." "Then what is the point, human?" "The point is that you've sent a message across this sector. You've told every species that humans are easy targets, that we're weak, that we won't fight back." Daewon's voice hardened. "We can't let that message stand. Not because of pride, because of survival. If other species think we're weak, they'll attack our other colonies, our trade routes, our home system." He looked directly at Vexthor. "So even though we can't win here, we have to make this costly for you. We have to make you regret attacking us. We have to make sure the next commander thinks twice." Vexthor felt that cold fear again. The human wasn't talking about surrender or escape. He was talking about making the Krethians bleed, about sending a message written in violence. "You would die for a message?" Vexthor asked. "We've died for less," Daewon replied. "We've died for pieces of land, for ideas, for revenge. Humans are very good at dying for things, but we're even better at making others die first." Silence filled the arena. Every Krethian present was beginning to understand. They hadn't captured a colony of weak civilians. They had cornered a group of trained killers who had been trying to live peacefully. Vexthor stood up from his command chair. His decision was made. If this human wanted to send a message, the commander would send one of his own. He would prove that Krethian might was superior to human endurance. "Clear the arena," he ordered. "I will face this creature myself." Torvan grabbed his arm. "Commander, that may not be wise." Vexthor shook him off. "I will not have it said that Krethians fear humans. Prepare my combat gear." He began walking toward the arena entrance. Behind him, Torvan exchanged worried glances with other officers. In the processing center, Haiwan heard the announcement and closed her eyes. "Daewon," she whispered, "don't die on us. We need you to teach the plants again." In the arena, Daewon rolled his shoulders, stretching muscles that were already sore. He knew what was coming. He had just challenged the pride of an alien commander. Now he would face the consequences. But he also knew something the Krethians didn't, something about human nature that couldn't be measured in physical strength or armor thickness. Humans were terrifying when they had nothing left to lose. Vexthor entered the arena wearing full battle armor. The plating was thick and reinforced, colored in the red and gold of a Krethian commander. His helmet bore the marks of a dozen campaigns. In his hands he carried a plasma blade, not a training weapon, but a real one that could cut through steel. Daewon stood in the center with no armor and no weapon. His work shirt was torn. His boots were scuffed. He looked like exactly what he had been that morning, a colonist who grew vegetables. The Krethian commander activated his plasma blade. It hummed to life with a blue glow. "I will make this quick, human. You fought well against lesser warriors, but I am not lesser." "I know," Daewon said. He wasn't being sarcastic, just honest. "You're bigger, stronger, better armored. In a straight fight, you win every time." "Then why do you not beg for mercy?" Daewon smiled slightly. "Because this isn't a straight fight. You think it is, but it's not." Vexthor charged. His speed was impressive for something so large. The plasma blade came down in a killing arc. Daewon rolled aside. The blade scorched the sand where he had been standing. The human came up running, not toward Vexthor, but away. He circled the arena at a steady jog. "Coward!" Vexthor roared. He chased after Daewon, heavy boots pounding the sand. Daewon called back over his shoulder. "Your planet has 0.8 Earth gravity. Mine has 1.0. Every step you take here, you're lifting more weight than you're used to. Every movement costs you more energy." He kept jogging, not sprinting, a sustainable pace. Vexthor tried to catch him, but the human maintained the distance effortlessly. "Your armor is impressive," Daewon continued, his breathing still controlled. "But it's heavy. And this facility is heated to 22 degrees Celsius, perfect for humans, too warm for a cold-blooded species like yours." Vexthor swung the blade again. Daewon ducked under it and kept moving. "You're already sweating under that armor, aren't you?" "Oh, wait. Krethians don't sweat. You can't regulate your body temperature like we can. The heat just builds up." It was true. Vexthor could feel his body temperature rising inside the armor. The climate control in his suit was struggling. He had been fighting on and off all day, and the accumulated heat was making him sluggish. Daewon suddenly stopped and turned to face him. Sweat ran down the human's face, but he wiped it away casually. "See this? This is sweating. Humans evolved in Africa, one of the hottest places on Earth. We developed this ability to cool down while we keep moving. We can hunt in the midday sun. Can you?" Vexthor charged again, determined to end this. His blade came from the side. Daewon grabbed one of the metal pipes from the ground and used it to deflect the plasma blade just enough to miss. The pipe was cut in half, molten metal dripping, but it had done its job. Daewon threw the ruined pipe at Vexthor's helmet. It clanged off the armor, doing no damage but obscuring vision for a second. In that second, Daewon moved in close. His fist slammed into the armor joint at Vexthor's elbow. Then his knee drove up into the hip joint. The armor protected against the strikes, but the impacts still registered. Vexthor swung his arm, backhanding Daewon across the arena. The human flew 6 feet and landed hard in the sand. For a moment, he didn't move. Then slowly, Daewon pushed himself up. Blood ran from his nose, his ribs ached, but he got to his feet. "That should have knocked you unconscious," Vexthor said, breathing heavily now. Daewon spat blood. "Maybe, but human bodies produce adrenaline when we're hurt. It blocks pain, increases strength, keeps us fighting even with broken bones." He wiped his mouth. Earth was a death world. Predators everywhere. Diseases, parasites, poisonous plants. We evolved to keep moving no matter what. He started circling again. His movements were slower now, but still steady. "Do you know what really made humans apex predators on Earth? Not claws, not venom, not armor. It was our ability to not quit, to keep coming, to chase prey for 8 hours straight until it collapsed from exhaustion." Vexthor tried to catch him again. But now the commander's movements were noticeably slower. The heavy armor, the heat, the sustained exertion, everything was adding up. His breathing was harsh and ragged inside the helmet. Daewon was tired too. Pain radiated from where he'd been hit, but his breathing was still controlled, his movement still purposeful. "Your species evolved as ambush predators on a temperate world. Burst of speed, quick kill, then rest. You're built for power, not endurance." He picked up another piece of metal. "Humans? We're built for the marathon, not the sprint." Vexthor roared in frustration and activated his helmet's emergency oxygen supply. Cool air flooded his face, but it was a limited supply, meant for emergencies. It would run out soon. In the viewing area, the Krethian soldiers watched in growing disbelief. Their commander was flagging. The human kept moving. Daewon saw the change in Vexthor's posture, the slight slump in the shoulders, the heavier breathing. "You're wondering how I'm still standing, how I'm not dead from that hit. It's because humans have something most species don't really understand. We have spite." He said the word like it meant something important. "We'll keep fighting when logic says we should quit. We'll survive injuries that should kill us. We'll win battles we should lose. Not because we're stronger, because we're too stubborn to give up." Vexthor charged one more time, putting everything into a final attack. The plasma blade came straight at Daewon's head. The human dropped flat to the ground. The blade passed over him. As Vexthor's momentum carried him forward, Daewon rolled and came up behind the commander. He jumped onto Vexthor's back. The commander tried to shake him off, but Daewon's arms wrapped around the helmet. His hands found the emergency release seals. He pulled. The helmet came loose with a hiss of depressurizing air. Vex Thor spun frantically, finally throwing Daewon off. The human landed badly, rolling across the sand. He came up limping, but Vex Thor's helmet was off, and in the viewing area, someone had increased the temperature in the arena by 5 degrees. Whether by accident or on purpose, it didn't matter. The commander's face was exposed to the warm air. His breathing was labored. His scales looked dull. Heat exhaustion was setting in. The plasma blade wavered in his grip. Daewon limped forward. "I can keep going, can you?" Vex Thor raised the blade, but his arm was shaking. "You wanted to know about humans," Daewon said quietly. "Here's the truth. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Weather, predators, disease, other humans. We survived anyway. We thrived. We turned a death world into home." He stopped just outside the blade's reach. "So when you try to break us, remember, we come from a world that's already tried and failed." Vex Thor's arm dropped. The blade deactivated. The massive alien warrior fell to one knee, gasping. Daewon stood over him. The human was bleeding, bruised, probably had cracked ribs. But he was standing, and Vex Thor was on his knees. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. An automated voice announced in both Krethian and Standard Galactic, "Alert! Multiple vessels detected entering system. Terran Coalition fleet signatures confirmed." In the command platform, Torvan checked his scanners. His face went pale. "Commander, 15 Terran warships just came out of jump space. They're broadcasting a message." Help had arrived. The voice that came through every speaker in the facility was calm, professional, and absolutely cold. It belonged to Admiral Miran Park, and every word carried the weight of 15 warships behind it. "Krethian forces. This is Admiral Park of the Terran Coalition Defense Fleet. You are in violation of the border treaty signed 3 years ago. You have attacked a human colony without provocation. You have 45 minutes to release all prisoners and withdraw your forces from Valaris 7. If you do not comply, we will interpret this as an act of war." In the arena, Vex Thor looked up at Daewon. "You knew they were coming." Daewon shook his head, wincing at the pain in his ribs. "No, but I knew someone would come eventually. We sent distress signals before your troops took the communication center, and humans don't leave their people behind." He offered his hand to help Vex Thor stand. "It's another Earth thing. We're pack animals, social creatures. We protect our own." Vex Thor stared at the offered hand for a long moment. Then slowly he reached up and grasped it. Daewon pulled, and the massive alien commander got to his feet. "You could have killed me," Vex Thor said quietly. "When I was down, why didn't you?" "Because I didn't want to," Daewon answered simply. "I came here to stop being a killer. Taking your life wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't make the colony safer. It would just make me a killer again." He looked up at the command platform where Krethian officers were frantically coordinating with their fleet. "Besides, killing you means your second-in-command takes over. Maybe he's more aggressive. Maybe he orders his troops to execute prisoners before withdrawing. Living enemies can make better choices than dead ones." Vex Thor's mind was racing. This human had defeated him in personal combat. The Terran fleet had outmaneuvered his forces, arriving in strength before he could consolidate his hold on the colony. Everything about this invasion had gone wrong because of one massive miscalculation. "We thought you were weak," Vex Thor said. "I know. We studied your colonies. You build farms. You have families. You don't show weapons or military strength. You seemed harmless." Daewon nodded. "We are harmless. When we choose to be. That's the part you didn't understand. We're not weak because we farm. We're not helpless because we prefer peace. We're just tired of war. He gestured to the processing center where human prisoners were being held. Every person in this colony has seen combat, not just soldiers like me, engineers who built military bases under fire, medics who treated wounds in war zones, pilots who flew supply runs through enemy territory. We've all served. We've all fought. We all decided we wanted something different. From the command platform, Torvan called down. Commander Admiral Park is requesting direct communication with you. Vexthor climbed slowly out of the arena. Daewon followed, limping. They made their way to the command center where a large screen showed the face of Admiral Park. She was an older woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her uniform was immaculate. Her expression was carved from ice. "Commander Vexthor," she said, "I see you've met Colonel Kim. I trained him myself about 15 years ago. He was one of my best officers. When he retired, I was sorry to see him go. But I respected his choice to seek peace." She leaned forward. "You took that peace away from him. From all of them. That makes me very unhappy." Vexthor straightened despite his exhaustion. "Admiral, the colony was in disputed territory." "No," Miran interrupted. "It was not. The border treaty was very clear. Valaris 7 is 40 light years inside human territory. You invaded. You attacked civilians. You tortured prisoners." Her eyes were like steel. "Do you know what happens when you harm human civilians?" "You retaliate?" Vexthor guessed. "No. We come in strength and we remove the threat permanently. That's what these 15 warships represent, not retaliation, threat elimination." She paused. "However, I've been monitoring the situation in your arena. I saw what Colonel Kim did. He defeated you and spared your life. He showed mercy." Miran's expression softened slightly. "Because of that mercy, I'm going to offer you a choice. Withdraw your forces immediately. Leave this system. Return to your empire and report what you learned here. In exchange, we won't destroy your fleet." "And if I refuse?" Vexthor asked, though he already knew he couldn't refuse. "Then in approximately 37 minutes, your ships become debris. My fleet outguns yours 3-1, and unlike your warriors, our ships don't get tired." She smiled without humor. "We can shoot at you all day, Commander. Can you shoot back all day?" Vexthor looked at Daewon, who stood quietly to the side. The human's face was neutral, not gloating, just waiting to see what choice the commander would make. "Why did your species hide its nature?" Vexthor asked. "Why pretend to be peaceful colonists when you are clearly a warrior race?" Daewon answered. "Because we've been the monsters before. Earth's history is full of terrible wars. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. When we finally reached the stars, we had a choice. Be the same violent species we'd always been, or try to be better." He met Vexthor's eyes. "We chose to try. We settled frontier worlds to farm and build and create. We signed treaties. We avoided conflicts. Not because we were afraid of fighting, because we were afraid of what we'd become if we started fighting again." "But you will fight," Vexthor said, "if pushed." "Yes, we're still human. We still have that capacity for violence. We just prefer not to use it." Daewon gestured to the screen where Admiral Park waited. "But when someone attacks our families, our homes, our people, yes, we fight, and we fight to win." Vexthor turned to Torvan. "Order all ground forces to release the prisoners. Begin immediate withdrawal to the ships." "Commander?" Torvan looked surprised. "Do it. We're leaving." Vexthor looked back at the screen. "Admiral Park, we accept your terms. We will withdraw from the system." "Wise choice," Miran said. "Our fleet will monitor your departure. If any of your ships deviate from a direct course out of this system, we will open fire. Am I clear?" "Perfectly clear, Admiral." The screen went dark. The command center was silent except for the soft beeping of consoles as Krethian officers coordinated the withdrawal. Vexthor turned to Day One one last time. I will report to my empire what we learned here, that humans are not weak, that you are predators who chose to be peaceful, that you are more dangerous than we imagined. Will they listen? Day One asked. Some will, others will not. They will think I failed because I was weak, not because you were strong. Vexthor sighed, a very human gesture. But I will tell them the truth anyway. Perhaps it will save lives, both Krethian and human. He began to walk toward the exit, then paused. Colonel Kim, thank you for sparing my life. I will not forget that mercy. Just don't make me regret it, Day One replied. 3 hours later, the last Krethian ship left orbit. The Terran fleet remained for 2 days, helping repair damage and providing medical care. Admiral Mi-Ran came down to the surface to inspect the colony personally. She found Day One in what remained of his garden. The Krethian attack had destroyed most of his crops. He was on his knees, pulling out damaged plants and preparing the soil for replanting. You look terrible, Mi-Ran said. I feel worse, Day One admitted. His ribs were wrapped, his face was bruised, and he moved like every part of him hurt. But the plants don't care. They need to be tended. Mi-Ran knelt beside him. You could come back. We need good officers. You proved you haven't lost your edge. No, Day One said firmly but kindly. I'm done with that life, Mi-Ran. I came here to grow things, not destroy them. I want to keep it that way. Even after this? Even knowing more might come? Day One looked across his damaged garden. Heywan was helping Sung Ho repair a fence. Yuna was organizing supply distribution. Other colonists, many of them former soldiers like himself, were rebuilding their community. Especially after this, he said. Because if we all go back to being warriors, then what was the point? Someone has to choose peace. Someone has to show that humans can be more than just good at violence. Mi-Ran squeezed his shoulder. You're a better person than I am, Day One. No, just a more tired one. She stood up. If you need anything, call. And if anyone bothers this colony again, we'll come running. I know, that's what humans do. The fleet left the next morning. Life on Valaris 7 slowly returned to normal. The colonists rebuilt. They planted new crops. They told stories about the attack that would become part of the colony's history. And Day One went back to his garden, his hands in the soil, his mind at peace. A warrior who had chosen to grow life instead of taking it. A human who represented the best of what his species could be. But his military equipment stayed packed and ready in a storage shed. Just in case. Because he was still human, and humans always prepared for the next fight, even when they hoped it would never come.